Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with what is unquestionably one of the discs of the year. I mean, I'm telling you right now. Actually, it may have been last year, because I think that's when this came out, but it doesn't make any difference. It's any year. If this is the year 5789 and you're watching it now, well, there you go. On the Hebrew calendar, I think we've already covered that, haven't we? Well, no, we're not quite there. Anyway, that's not the point. It's John Alden Carpenter's Complete Ballets. Really fabulous. John Alden Carpenter lived from 1876 to 1951. He was kind of an interesting ancillary character to what they call the Boston or New England school of composers. Piston and Creston and John Knowles Payne and Chadwick and Amy Beach and all those people. The New England school. They were a school and they were very interesting. Some of them were superb, some of them less so. But Carpenter was actually born in Illinois. He did go to Harvard. Didn't everybody? Did musical stuff then. And then he studied for like 10 minutes with Elgar. Thank God you don't hear that at all in his music. And John Knowles Payne, who, thank God you don't hear that at all in his music. He was a modernist, one of the earliest American modernists. He was interested in Debussy, in modern orchestration. Really kind of cool stuff. And he was one of the very first composers to take an interest in jazz. And I mean, back in the early 20s, I mean, when it was a very new thing, even before Gershwin was doing it. I mean, he writes about his ballets. There's a wonderful little quotation here. To all lovers of the ballets are, let me just tell you what they are, because it's very interesting. Krazy Kat, The Birthday of the Infanta, and Skyscrapers. They are, he says. To all lovers of Mr. Harriman's ingenious and delightful cartoons, it must have seemed inevitable that sooner or later Krazy Kat and Ignatz Mouse would be dragged by some composer into music. I have tried to drag them not only into music, but onto the stage as well, by means of what I have called, for obvious reasons, a jazz pantomime. I am convinced that our contemporary popular music, please note that I avoid labeling it jazz, is by far the most spontaneous, the most personal, the most characteristic, and, by virtue of these qualities, the most important musical expression that America has achieved. That was quite a statement to be making at the time. The Birthday of the Infanta recounts the birthday party of the Spanish Infanta, surrounded by her young friends in the garden of the royal palace. He doesn't talk about the tragic story. Skyscrapers is a ballet which seeks to reflect some of the many rhythmic movements and sounds of modern American life. It has no story in the usually accepted sense, but proceeds on the simple fact that American life reduces itself essentially to violent alternations of work and play, each with its own particular and distinctive rhythmic character. Doesn't that sound juicy, huh? Now, if Carpenter had been a French composer, he would have been acclaimed a genius. There's no question about it, because these ballets they're all one act. They last, well, Krazy Kat's like 15 minutes, and the others are a bit longer. They're about 20 to 30 minutes. It's 71 minutes in all for the disc. He would have been performed, and Diaghilev would have loved him, and all of that stuff. But because he was American, this was all played, he was recognized quite a bit in his lifetime, and then, of course, completely ignored, because that's what Americans do. It's just horrible. Absolutely horrible. These are masterpieces. They are fabulous, colorful, tuneful, brilliant, highly varied works. I mean, really tremendous. Krazy Kat, as mentioned, is a jazz thing. It's a cartoon ballet. I mean, the plot is very long and involves sort of commedia dell'arte, cartoon things, Tom and Jerry stuff. You hit him with a brick and it doesn't matter. It's fun. It's just fun to listen to. The Birthday of the Infanta. Well, we know that, don't we? Because Schrecker made a ballet pantomime out of it, and Zemlinsky made an opera out of it, and it's the same story. the Infanta is given a present, and one of the presents is a dwarf who's comic and adorable, and she and her friends all have fun. And then the dwarf sees his own reflection in the mirror and realizes that he's a hideous, twisted, deformed creature, and drops dead. That's the story. And the Infanta comes running in and sees him dead, and they just ignore him completely. It's kind of like the end of Wozzeck. It's horrifying, and it's a terrific little plot. I mean, for a ballet, and this is every bit as good as Schrecker's. I mean, or Zemlinsky's. It's much more Spanish in character than those composers did, but it's just sort of equally kind of decadent and seamy in places. It's really marvelous. And then Skyscrapers is busy. It's busy and brash and urban and really the most modernist thing that Carpenter wrote, but still full of like really catchy rhythms and tunes, and it's exciting, really exciting, brilliantly scored. They're just wonderful, wonderful works. And the Boston Modern Orchestra Project under Gil Rose does a sensational job with them. I mean, the recording is brilliant. The playing is virtuoso. It's just exciting, really exciting. I mean, this is important stuff in 20th century music, not just 20th century American music, I might add. It's wonderful music, period. And I do wish that these folks would do something to like publicize themselves somehow. I've had some very, very casual contact with some PR people who've promoted individual projects that they've done. If the composers were living and they had, some sort of, paid for some sort of PR. But as usual with labels like this, they do absolutely nothing. And their catalog is fabulous. So, I mean, I've reviewed a bunch of things by them because I've gone out and bought them, and I would have done this sooner if I'd known that it existed. It was just serendipitous that I happened to come across it. It blows my mind that important projects are happening all the time. And we have a label here, a serious label that's got funding and it's doing astonishing work. And, nobody cares because they don't do anything to promote themselves, or they don't at least talk to people who are in a position to promote them. Hint, hint. Anyway, the point is, this is fabulous. And you really, really need to hear it. You're going to love it. If you like 20th century French ballet of the ballet russe type, Poulenc's Les Biches or Auric, or, all those people who wrote those one-act ballet things in the 1920s and 30s. I mean, this is of that period. I mean, Constant Lambert's ballets, and they're wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful works. Give this a shot. You will be extremely happy that you did. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.